Hello and welcome to another edition of The Chamber right here on City TV. Of course, today we're having a conversation, wonderful one at that, with a former member of parliament, an immediate past legislator. Of course, will be telling us his experiences in parliament and what he makes of the current happenings in the house. This is The Chamber. I'll be back and I'll introduce my guests and we'll delve into the discussions. My name is Duke Mensopoku. Stay with us. Hello, welcome back to the program. This is still The Chamber. My name is Duke Mensopoku. On this edition, we've been joined by a former member of parliament, immediate past member of parliament for Mion in the northern region, the Honorable Abdul Aziz Mohammed. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, my brother.
It's been 4 months out of parliament. How have you been?
I'm good. I'm good coping with life outside parliament.
Yeah, so what have you been up to, really?
For the past 4 months, I've had some time for myself, I've had some time for family, and I've had some time for private business, and I've also gone back to school, just to be able to hold the 4-year period that lies ahead of us. The next elections will be in 2024, yes. So in between times, I've had something to occupy myself. Like I indicated, at least this time I have some time for family, private business, and also go back to school.
All right, let's take us back to where it all started from. Where were you born? What kind of upbringing did you have? Which schools did you go to?
I was born some 45 years back in Tamale, specifically a suburb called Sabonjida. Sabonjida in Tamale is like into 4 parts, but some way, somehow, I spent all my life within that enclave. I spent all my life in Sabonjida, in Tamale, until I relocated to Accra somewhere in 2009, somewhere October 2009. I attended Ahmadiyya Primary School, Ahmadiyya Primary School in Tamale, from primary 1 to primary 6. That would have been around 82 to 86. I attended Ahmadiyya Primary School. In those days, I don't know what the situation is today, but we used to run shifts, the morning and then the afternoon shift. And so when I left Ahmadiyya Primary School, I proceeded to the Zogbele Junior High School, Block A. In Tamale, when you talk of Zogbele Junior High School, we have Block A and Block B. These are 2 different schools altogether.
But they are all on the same compound?
No, quite a distance from each other. In between Ahmadiyya, in between the Zogbele Junior Block A and Block B, there are some cluster of schools in between these two structures. I attended the Block A in Tamale. It was popularly referred to as Atutuga. That was the name of the headmaster, Onobiskura. That was the popular name for that school. And then from there, I proceeded to Business Secondary School in Tamale.
Nobisco or
Business Secondary School.
Business
Secondary School itself was in existence years before Nobisco came into the picture. And so I left there somewhere in 1994. Then later went to Tamale Training College, where I got trained as a professional teacher between 1996 and 1999.
Okay, but tell us about your parents. Who were they? What did they do?
My father was a driver at UAC. UAC, if my memory serves me right, United African Textiles. He was a driver.
Unilever.
Exactly, now Unilever. He was with UAC as a driver. My mother was a petty trader, but spent most part of trading life in Accra. She was doing the Tamale Accra route for a very long time until she got settled because of old age. She couldn't engage in the active business again. So my father was a driver, and later also took to farming. To farming, yes.
How many siblings?
I have 9 siblings.
First, are you the first?
I'm the
second?
firstborn.
Oh, wow.
The firstborn of both parents. 4 males and 6 females. I happen to be the elder one. So we're 10 in number.
Okay,
we're 10 in number.
Okay, but let's take us to senior high school, a business secondary school. Is that where leadership started for you?
I must admit, yes. When I got to secondary school, from Form 1 to Form 3, I studied home economics, and coming from
home
Dagbon, where you were in a class that had to do with food and nutrition, where you had to be seen cooking and sewing. I remember when we were in secondary school, when we got to Bisco in first year, myself and some colleagues of mine, my male colleagues, I think we were about 12 of us in a class. In a class of about 50, we were 12 boys. I remember we gathered ourselves to go and confront the headmaster to tell him that we were not supposed to be in that class, because apparently we didn't have a full understanding of the program.
But this is even still strange to me.
Exactly.
You were in home economics class.
Exactly.
What were your electives?
Food and nutrition, I remember, was one. Clothing and textiles was one. And management and living was also one. Yeah. But later, I understand they added economics to that course. But we did only these 3 electives. It was compulsory. You couldn't escape either food and nutrition or clothing and textiles. We, the boys, tended to be more interested in the management in living, which was more like life skills back at the JSS. But the angle of cooking and sewing was what we didn't like, and largely because of the environment within which we grew up. You know, this was a male-dominated environment. Boys were not seen to be associated with kitchen and cooking.
And I'm sure you had many female students in the class than the boys.
That's why I said in a class of about 50, we were about 12 of us. And I remember, you see, that's why we must pay critical attention to guidance and counseling. Yeah. When I was leaving JSS for secondary school, in those days, we had these forms that we filled. And then they would pick your forms. This computer placement was not in existence. And so, right from primary school to JSS, I had some admiration, some attachment to economics. Okay. So once I saw economics, I forgot of the home and went to take for home economics. Wow. So I didn't actually know what I was saying.
So instead of choosing business,
exactly,
so that you take the
home economics
because you saw economics.
I mean, wow. You didn't have, people to guide you. You were perhaps the first person within the family to have taken that route. And so when we got to secondary school, and then we realized that it was someone walked in, a tutor walked in and was talking about sewing machine and how she was going to take you through. Another person walks in and it was all about cooking. Okay. Then you went like, what is this? And so we gathered ourselves. I remember myself and my friend who is currently in the UK. The last time I checked, he was with the British Army, Mutari, and some other few male colleagues of mine. We gathered to go and meet our headmaster, Alhaji Sidi Seni. He passed on recently. May his soul rest in peace. And then a senior of us saw us under a tree and came to ask us what we were doing. Then we said we were going to meet the headmaster to discuss the issue of our course with him, because we didn't think that we were going to fit into that class. And the mockery that even came with it, our colleagues from business school.
I can imagine.
Yes, the mockery that came with it. And the understanding around that time was that we in that class were those who didn't do so well at the BEC. Yes. But that wasn't the case. I, for instance,
and visual arts. Even
exactly.
Today,
I, for instance, scored distinction at JSS, and so that argument was far from the truth. But that was the perception, and so a couple of reasons made us to believe that we needed to be changed to join our colleagues who were in the business class. And then when we met this senior met us, and we told him what we were planning. As first years, we didn't know much about the school, and we had heard a lot about our headmaster, such a stern person who would insist on the right thing to be done. And so some way, somehow, we abandoned that course. We didn't go to approach him again. And so we went to pursue the course. And that was the second batch of SS, 1994. And so even the teachers themselves didn't understand the courses. And so myself and my male colleagues were very, very good in maths and English in those days, because we had all the time for core science, core mathematics, and English, because you didn't have much time to bother yourselves with those two electives, food and nutrition, and then clothing and textiles. And so at the least opportunity, you want to read some other subjects, and not these two. And so even when they gave us the textbooks, for me, in those days, we were made to return the textbooks at the end of the term.
Yeah.
I mean, the way you give the books to me is the way I'll return it to you, very nicely packed, because we hardly would open those books to. So I must admit that it was a tough time for us.
And I'm sure as an offshoot of that, you must be a very good cook. Or that one you also didn't.
I must admit that I'm very poor when it comes to cooking, because my heart wasn't there. Right. It was just a matter of managing to pass your end of term exams and managing to pass at the end of your stay in the school, the external exam. And so that was it. But I must admit that our tutors did everything possible to get us into the course, to get us develop some interest into the course, but it wasn't forthcoming. And so some way, somehow, we managed to. And I remember when we were in secondary school, I became the health prefect in our final year. Okay. In our final year. And so from there, we
moved to Tamale Training College.
Moved to Tamale Training College, TATCO. Okay. Now TATU, I understand, where I did a professional certificate A program at TATCO between 1996 and 1999, and then later to Tamale Polytechnic that same year to pursue HND accounting. Okay. And when I was at Tamale Training College, I took the advantage to write some private exams, O-levels and A-levels. Okay. I did O-levels and A-levels in economics, Islamic, commerce.
You're still pursuing your
love for economics. Pursue my interest out of school. So within a period of 6 months or so, I was able to study for my O-level exams in an entirely different course area. And I passed through, went ahead to register for the private A-levels, and I passed through. Then I was, when I completed training college and was teaching, I took the advantage to enroll at the Tamale Polytechnic to pursue HND accounting, in accounting, and finished somewhere in 2002. And I was still in Tamale teaching until I also enrolled for a top-up program with the University of Cape Coast for BCom, accounting option. Wow. And then
you moved on from there. But what classes did you teach? What courses, what subjects did you teach? Or you were a form teacher, so you taught all subjects?
I taught, I can remember general science I did. Okay. Religious and moral education I did. English I did. At the Lamashagu Junior High School, where I taught for close to 8 years. Okay.
Same school?
Same school.
8 years,
school.
Wow.
Yeah, 8 years. And I
taught... I'm sure they were calling you Teacher Aziz.
Teacher Aziz, Teacher Aziz, Teacher Aziz. And teaching is one thing I must admit that I love to do. It is one profession that I have some serious attachment to. So I taught in Lamashagu JSS from 1999 to 2007, when I went to join the Ghana Danish Community Project in Dalong, GDCP, as an accounts officer, where I worked for some 2 to 3 years before I came to Accra to work with GIFEC as a finance manager for 8 good years.
But let's tell us, University of Cape Coast, your experiences there. Do you also take up any positions?
We didn't have the opportunity because I was in Tamale and we were doing a top-up. Okay. We took advantage of their distance program, which was for, largely in those days, it was meant for those who were taking a top-up for a degree program. So I didn't have that campus feeling at University of Cape Coast. Yes, you went there a couple of times for some courses and for matriculation and graduation, but not on entirely on campus studies. Then I came to, like I said, I came to GIFEC in 2009 and as a finance manager at GIFEC, Ghana Investment Fund for Electronic Communications under the Ministry of Communications. Then somewhere in 2010 or so, I went to study a postgraduate certificate in accounting and taxation at the Ghana Telecom University. Went back to that same school to pursue my MBA in finance. This was a program run between Ghana Telecom University and Coventry University in UK for a 1-year master's program, which I pursued. And I also made some attempt to sit for ACCA, but had to abandon it because of politics. Because I was not able to combine my entry into politics with the ACCA exams, which was very, very demanding.
But at the tertiary education level, did you take up any leadership
Polytechnic,
roles?
yes.
Positions?
Polytechnic, when I went to Tamale Polytechnic, I was prefect responsible for entertainment. And even at college, I was the prefect responsible for entertainment and social affairs. And so right from secondary school to training college to Polytechnic, I had engaged myself in some leadership roles. And that's where I think that my likeness for politics started. My desire for leadership, I must admit, started right from secondary school, but not partisan
politics.
partisan
of course, that's
politics.
It's not possible.
Exactly, but that tendency to take up leadership positions and responsibility, I must admit, I would trace it back to my days at the secondary school, training college, and Polytechnic. And
Okay, so when did partisan politics, or when did your affiliation with the NDC begin?
When I got back, when I finished Polytechnic somewhere in 2002, and came back home, I mingled with some good friends of mine who were into active politicking. One person I would remember and would give credit to is Alhaji Abio, who is currently the elections director in Northern Region. He was one time the regional youth organizer. And so, through friends of mine, I developed some interest in partisan politics, but I didn't take a frontline role until somewhere in 2005, when it was suggested to me that I should come and contest for Deputy Secretary in Tamale South. And that was during the first tenure of office of the current minority leader. And so I went to contest, won that elections as a party officer at the constituency level. Some way, somehow, the substantive officer, Alhaji Aliu, popular called One Man, took a frank leave, and so I had to act as the secretary for the constituency. And that's when somewhere 2005, when I started a working relationship with the current minority leader, even though we had known ourselves for a long time. My old boy was the constituency chairman for Gutpegu Sabonjida. And so some way, somehow.
NDC
chairman.
Yes, wow.
Yes. Alhaji Pena, not my biological father though, but he was the chairman for Gutpegu Sabonjida. That later became Tamale South and Tamale Central. And so there was some working relationship already between Haruna Idrisu and my old boy then. And so when it was suggested to me to take up that responsibility, I didn't hesitate. I went in for it. And I really enjoyed working for Tamale South and working for the NDC and the current minority leader since that time.
Okay. So we're in Tamale South now. We'll take a break here. We'll come and find out how he made that transition from Tamale South to Mion and then to Parliament. Still the chamber. We'll be back after this break. Stay with us. You're welcome back. This is still the chamber. I'm still here with the immediate past MP for Mion in the Northern Region, the Honorable Abdul Aziz Mohammed. So before we went on the break, you were talking to us about being secretary for Tamale South.
Yeah, between 2005 and 2009.
Okay, 2009. That was a 4-year period. So how did the transition happen? Of course, the people will logically would think that Tamale South, that's where you started. But how did you end up in Mion?
Well, you see, when late President Mills won the elections in 2008 and assumed office in 2009, I must admit, I was still interested in occupying a party position, but it was suggested to me to move to public service as to some other roles instead of working for party. And I yielded to that. So I came to GIFEC in 2009, like I indicated, as a finance officer.
But what really does GIFEC do? Let's branch a bit.
GIFEC
is an organization that exists, but people don't really know what you do.
GIFEC is a government institution under the Ministry of Communications that is largely into bridging the digital divide between what we call the underserved or unserved and the served communities in respect of ICT. And so you would see GIFEC doing projects like CIC, Community Information Centers, that were virtually like ICT hubs in all the districts of this country. You know, they partner with the telecos, the telecom companies to extend coverage to very deprived areas of this country, because the telecos would not go to areas that are not financially attractive, of course, where the customer base is relatively small. But government has a duty to extend ICT and, for that matter, telecom services to these areas. And so we had a program called the CTF, Common Telecommunication Facility, where government through GIFEC would go and do the towers, the poles for all the telcos to come and do what we call co-location, to come and site their machines on that tower to be able to deliver a network. CIC, like I indicated earlier, even most of the e-projects of government departments and agencies were spearheaded by GIFEC. So that's basically what GIFEC does. Okay, so you went there in 2009? I went there in 2009, somewhere October 2009, as a finance officer. Later became the finance manager. I was there when I pursued my postgraduate certificate in accounting and taxation, and also my master's degree in finance. And so somewhere in 2014, then I realized that the NDC was losing grounds in the Mion constituency. And that is my maternal, that's where my mother comes from. So the MP then, Honorable Dr. Ahmed Yakubu,
who was also a deputy minister for Agric.
Who was also the deputy minister for Agric under President Mahama. So I suggested to him that, look, I would come and vie for the DCship, so that whilst you work from Accra as a member of parliament, I can be home as a DC and see how I could help hold the grounds for the party and yourself. Because I realized that our numbers were really being threatened. 2004, we won with some 33 votes, if I remember. Then later 67 in 2008. So it wasn't a very, grounded constituency for the NDC. And because I had worked in Tamale South as a party officer, I had some experience that I could bring to bear on the political terrain within Mion. And this is my hometown. And so when I suggested that to him, it found favor with him. But some way, somehow, I didn't get to be the DC. And I then supported the DC, Honorable Makanda. I got some machines from GIFEC to support him, to be able to also support the government agencies within the Mion district. It was a newly carved assembly. And so later, I realized that I could throw in a bid for the parliamentary primaries, which I did. I remember in 2007, 2015, the NDC did the biometric, the light thing where everybody, every card-bearing member of the NDC was eligible to vote in that primaries. So that was a very tough one. In 2015, I ran that primaries with some other 6 people, including the incumbent MP then, Dr. Ahmed Yakubu, one Dr. Mawia, who is a medical doctor, a dentist, and some other
6
known, 6 other people. Myself added, making it 7. I won that primaries and later won the seat for the NDC. And this time around, it was with the largest margin, 6,000 votes difference, and that was good for me and the party. And then, unfortunately, lost a seat to the MPP in 2020 under very bizarre circumstances. I'm sure we'll come to that.
We will come to that. But so this was the first time, 2015.
Yeah,
you contested for the first time,
exactly.
and then you won.
Yeah, I won the primaries and went ahead to win the main elections in 2016. Unfortunately, President Mahama lost that election in 2016.
Okay. Yeah. So then, I mean, you came to Parliament in 2017, January 7th, you were sworn in.
Yeah.
What were your first impressions of Parliament being sworn in? First member, you had expectations, living, well, in my estimation, a very comfortable job as finance manager of GIFEC, and then deciding to do politics. You come in January 7th, you are taking your oath. How was it like?
A sense of new feeling. I mean, you came to the realization that you had moved from a typical public servant to a real politician. You know, you were compelled to put on a new gown as a politician, to engage with constituents, with party, and your colleagues in Parliament, and to begin to learn the rudiments of parliamentary practice. Okay. You know, you would read Hansards, you would go and engage senior members on your side to be able to find your feet within a parliament. And so it was a new sense of feeling. You know, yes, I see Parliament as a public service job. I've always maintained that members of Parliament are public servants. Of course, elected public servants. And so sometimes when I see members of Parliament or the side trying to put us in some special arena, as if, yes, we are politicians, but we are first of all public servants. We are there to help in rendering goods and services to the larger community. Yes, at the policy level, but we are not private people. We are either a private person or a public person. Members of Parliament, in my understanding, and the way I carried myself was to portray myself as a public servant, of course, elected public servant.
Was there anything that shocked you about Parliament? Was there anything that did not meet your expectations? Should be becoming a member of Parliament, walking in, being sworn in, taking your oath, and then now beginning to work as an MP?
Not that much. Not that much. Except that there were instances where, because of the overwhelming majority of the majority side in the Seventh Parliament, there were bills and transactions that ordinarily, from my thinking, that should not have been passed by the House. That got passed. I mean, you were there and you saw a lot of deals that we cried about that eventually got passed largely because our opponents had an overwhelming majority. And so, apart from those few disappointments on issues that borders on national interest, I must say things fell in shape, and I wasn't too much surprised. And I was one person who tried to gather the courage to participate in parliamentary proceedings in the early days. I remember the 2017 State of the Nation Address. We were sworn in on 7th of January, and somewhere February or so, President Akufo-Addo came to deliver his maiden State of the Nation Address. And I was privileged to be among the first time member of Parliament who were asked to debate. And I think I discharged myself well, and subsequently tried to engage as much as possible to the best of my ability.
Okay, let's take a look at your career as a parliamentarian in Parliament, the 4 years you spent in Parliament. You served on Local Government Committee, Poverty Reduction Committee. These are two important committees. What would you say were the high points of your career in Parliament, the 4 years, the high sides, the most things that you're very happy about? We're talking about your work as an MP in Parliament House, Accra.
days that I had the opportunity to engage with ministers or deputy ministers on issues of national interest. You remember, you were in Parliament. You remember the issue of public judgment.
Yes.
The
Judgment
debts,
yes.
issues of public judgment debts
Yes.
that I picked up. The issue of the Anas expose on GFA.
On GFA, yes.
That related to the killing of Ahmed Swaleh, because I was trying to,
to draw the connection.
Draw the connection, to draw attention to it. There were several other issues issues of.
And you really took on the sports minister and the attorney general on that issue quite a lot.
Exactly, the sports ministry. Even the issue that relates to the immediate past deputy minister for information.
Yes.
The visa racketeering issue. Those were issues that I happily engaged ministers and deputy ministers on. It was not just on issues of national interest, not just issues on judgment debts, expenditure on Free Senior High School, and policy direction, or bust issues. But there were issues that I also had the opportunity to discuss on the floor of Parliament that related to my constituency.
Yeah.
The poor road network in my constituency, the water issues in the constituency were issues that I had the privilege to engage on the floor of Parliament. The fact that Sang being the capital still have some water crisis year in, year out, that most of the roads in the Mion constituency are virgin roads. They've never been shaped or done, were issues that I had the opportunity to raise. So I want to believe that in my own humble way, I was able to represent my people on the floor of Parliament, both on national issues and on issues that related to constituency issues. Okay. Maybe I could have done more. There's always room for improvement. Maybe I could have engaged more, but to the best of my ability, I tried to represent my people well in the chamber of Parliament. Of course, the parliamentary work is not just about what you say or what you don't say in Parliament, but it also matters whether you are able to advocate for your people. Because you see, even though we are lawmakers, Parliament is a lawmaking institution. Yeah. When you go back to the constituency, you are identified more with development than lawmaking. For instance, you go to a community like Mbatanga, Palare, Nyanto, or Zakwasi, they don't understand when you come and tell them that you raise issues on either judgment debt or Nyente cheese and expose on GFA. No, they don't. They want you to talk to them about their route that you just use to them. They want you to speak to the issues of their water, what we are doing to resolve it. In fact, they see MPs as agents of development more than lawmakers. And so I tried my best to represent my people.
What about the low points as MP working in Parliament?
You see, the issue of broadcasting bill has become very topical these days. Yeah. This was a matter that I picked up, but that never saw the light of day because I had become worried about these so-called malams and juju men on our national televisions. I was so much worried about these telenovelas that I think was corrupting the youth. We had jettisoned the values, the cultural values, in favor of some Mexican episodes, and women became so attached to it that I wasn't too pleased about it. At a point you'd see even male lawyers come to sit on national television, analyzing, to pass commentary on telenovelas. And you ask yourself what was happening to the creative industry in this country and how we could use national policy. So
is it that you filed a question on it, or you presented a statement but the speaker did not admit it?
Exactly. I tried working on a statement that never saw the light of day. I tried doing a statement calling for a broadcasting bill somewhere in 2008. It was an agent stadium that I was pushing for. That never saw the light of day. The issue of the Tekwade girls too was a matter that I tried pursuing through emotion. That also never saw the light of day. So quite a number of them.
Okay.
Attempts that I made either through my leadership or the speaker, that for one reason or the other didn't find expression
on the floor.
In the chamber that I wasn't too pleased about.
Okay, let's look at your constituency itself.
Okay.
You got the opportunity for 4 years. Things that you drive by these days and can point to and say, these are things that I'm happy that I was able to do during my tenure of office. Your achievements, your high points representing your people in the constituency itself, away from Parliament.
That's one thing that excites me. And even when I lost my elections, let me say that even my worst critics will tell you that you can hate Aziz for anything, but not for delivery in the constituency.
Really? You are that confident
I'm so proud
of your record in Mion.
I'm so proud of that. Even after losing my elections, when I look back what I was able to do within 4 years in opposition as an MP, and if I was to compare that to
your predecessors,
I can only say that I am more than satisfied. I'm unable to comment deeply on that matter because even the one I succeeded was an NDC MP. And so in an attempt to extol what you've done and to compare that to what we came to make would also mean that
but Alice, trust give us a few.
For instance, when you go to Sang is the constituency capital, there's a workshop, a skills training center that I did, because the issue of youth unemployment is a very critical one. And you just don't solve youth unemployment through lip service. You have to take concrete actions towards that. I am proud that one of the first projects that I did was to go to Sang and construct a skills training center. Got some people to train girls in sewing, and I brought someone from Kumasi to Mion. I rented him a place to live in, to teach them how to manufacture these simple sandals that we see in town. This is something that they could go and sell for some 100, 200 Ghana cedis. And I made sure that the labeling was done properly, made in Sang. And they were shocked that this guy, I was able to get him from Kumasi, pleaded with him to come and live in Sang. I tried as much as possible to make life comfortable for him in Sang, to train some young boys in shoemaking, not just in ordinary as in polishing, but how to manufacture shoes, simple footwears in Sang. And that is the way you deal with youth unemployment. You have to build their capacity. You have to equip them with some skills so that some 3-4 years to come, they can be on their own. They may choose to still do the peasant farming that they do on annual basis, but give them a regular, sustainable source of income. So when I drive through Sang and I see that workshop, I feel so happy that I was able to think of such an initiative so early, and I was able to see it through. I remember the current MP when he was still aspiring and trying to unseat me in one of the radio stations in Tamale, said that when they asked me what I did, he said, "Oh, there's this workshop he sees around. It's like some NGOs came to do it." And he was trying to take out that
the fact that you
because he has seen the facility, so he can't deny it. So the only way to do was to purport that it was, look, I did that through my common fund, and the girls are there learning the sewing. Some of these girls, trust me, I don't even know them. When I started the project, I told the facilitators that this project is for Mion, is for the youth, not for NDC and not for the MPP. And so when you go there, you would see girls who are there learning who don't sympathize with the NDC. But you see, when you are elected as a member of parliament, you represent the entire constituency. And so some of your actions must go beyond your partisan interest. It is possible that could even get someone, develop some interest in your in your political party. And so that workshop, I'm so proud of it. I'm so proud that I was able to lobby for the road from Pavia to Dabwani to be constructed with about 5 big bridges. This was a project that was started under President Mahama that I lobbied through the president himself then. And then he instructed the then Minister for Roads and Highways, Minister Fusini, to initiate the process. And the works actually started under the NDC. It's about some 5 to 6 million Ghana cedis project. I'm also so proud that for the first time, an MP was able to use his common fund to initiate rural electrification in Mion. At least as I speak to you now, we have works ongoing in about some 6 or 7 communities. Sequoia, Boyele, Tua, Pukpalagu, Pomale, Nkwanta, Bachaboya. These are communities that are initiated and procured all building, all materials for us to extend power to these communities. Schools have been constructed, not pavilions. 3 classroom blocks, one in Sang, one in Kulimpegu, and the kids are making use of it. We have opened up roads, Palari, Nyanto, Kayang, Malia, Tana. About 8 communities we've opened up their roads. These were virgin roads that we managed to open and reshape for them to use. Because at least, and even when I went to the constituency, trust me, you can do your fact checking. There was the constituency had a tricycle, Abuboya. Abuboya, as an ambulance.
Wow.
But at least I was able to procure an ambulance from Italy. That is now said before the one constituency, one ambulance came. Our ambulance was there working. And I understand that they even prefer to use that one than the government one because it is cheaper using it than going for the government one. And so there are some projects when I look back, I feel I did my part to be able to uplift the constituency in terms of infrastructure. Yes, we could have done more if President Mahama and the NDC had won the 2016 elections. I'm sure we would have done much better.
All right. On that note, we'll take another break. When I come back, we'll delve into how he lost that seat, the dynamics, and what the future holds for the Honorable Abdul Aziz. We'll be back. You're welcome back. Still the chamber. I'm still having a conversation, interesting one, with the Honorable Abdul Aziz Mohammed, immediate past MP for Mion. So, of course, you were touting your achievements, but then went to the election and you lost. And you lost by more than 5,000 votes, almost 7,000 votes. That must have been shocking.
Very shocking. Yeah, very shocking, I must admit. I didn't see it coming. I lost my elections on Sunday, the Sunday to the Monday.
24 hours
I was very confident.
24 hours before.
I was very confident.
Because we noticed that for about 6 months we were not in parliament.
Yeah.
Probably in the constituency campaign.
Yeah, I together with my executives and other party sympathizers, we did everything to retain the seat. But like I said a day after the election, we worked, we campaigned, and we prayed, but the will of God prevailed. I've seen some few, party people try to take an issue with me. I mean, why would we go and lose my seat? And I go like, for goodness sake, if I had won that seat, if we had retained that seat as a party, I would have been the primary beneficiary. And so I'll be the last person to have done anything that would have led to our defeat.
This is a safe seat you let go.
If you say let go, I understand. But like I indicated, if I had retained the seat, I'm sure the pay slip would have been in my name. I would have been the primary beneficiary. But like I said, you can only do what you can do as a human being. That's why I said we worked, we campaigned, and we prayed, but the will of God prevailed. And yes, it's true that Mion is our safe seat, but this is not the first time that we lost the seat. We lost the seat also in 1996 to Great Alliance, CPP, my uncle, Mr. Alabira, and this is the second time that we lost it, especially when you juxtapose it against the background that I came to win that seat with the highest margin before, from 33, 67 to about 6,000, and now losing it with such a huge gap again, it calls for some worry that I admit. But you see, that's why the party would have to take some research and some action in some constituencies. My failure to retain the seat was partly as a result of internal crisis.
Really?
I'm sure you are aware that as we speak today, my constituency chairman has been suspended.
Yes.
If you have a constituency chairman who is supposed to lead the charge, you can't do anything behind him. In fact, he was made the campaign coordinator for the constituency.
Whoa.
And this, I should not have said this because he is not here to defend himself, but to the extent that the regional executive committee have found ample evidence to suspend him, tells you the gravity of the sabotage. That if you have your party chairman in the constituency holding meetings with your opponents, telling them what to do and what not to do, linking them with branch executives
of your party.
And the audio is there. If you read the suspension letter, you would see that the party is in a possession of a tape, an audio recording of him working and planning with the NPP. I mean, that is unimaginable. For what crime? For what offense? Whatever would have been the offense, whatever Aziz would have done, for the sake of the party of which you were the chairman, that you got elected at Congress, and you swore an oath to serve the party. This is someone, you can't be a party chairman and would want to claim that some way, somehow, you haven't had anything of any kind from the party. You don't turn your back on that same party. I've always said that MPs are like tenants. Like tenants. If you don't like a tenant, you don't go around demolishing your house. You don't do that. The tenant has a tenure. When his tenure ends, he would leave. MPs are like tenants. So you may not like Aziz. You may not like the way I do my politics. You may not like the fact that I use my common fund to do development projects when indeed you had some other plans for it. You may not like that. But just wait. When we get to the internal primaries and you try and kick me out. But once I am elected by the delegates to lead the party, you are under every obligation to support my bid.
Okay. But there's also the view.
I just didn't lose the election. President Mahama also for the first time lost Mion.
Okay.
That is unheard of. And so if you thought that Aziz was the target, you extended your hatred
to the president.
Today, you know my pain?
No.
That we are in this crisis as a country, as a party, just because of one seat. Just one seat. You can imagine if we are retaining Mion, the configuration, the dynamics in Parliament would have been different.
But
this would have been the majority leader.
But the argument also is that what happened in Mion is symptomatic of a larger malaise that happened in the Dabong area in the northern region. So Karaga went, of course Mion also went. There are other places that were also retained, Nantong, Tolong, Kushewu and all of that. What happened to the NDC in Dabong?
We need to undertake
Has it got anything to do with the successful resolution of the problem, the Dagbon issues by President Akufo-Addo and the MPP, which the MPP took, made a lot of political capital out of?
Akufo-Addo at the least opportunity wants to take credit for the seeming resolution of the Dagbon crisis, and that's what we are buying into. In any case, who caused the problem in the first place? The same MPP government, and all the structures that he came to meet. The construction of the policies, the roadmap was there. He only came to inherit a roadmap that
everything crystallized under his watch, and he.
That one I give credit to him. But you see, when you want to take credit for resolving the Dagbon crisis, how did the crisis itself emanate?
But did that have anything to do with the?
But let's get back to
the massive loss of
the Dagbon issue. I think that the NDC needs to pay some attention to northern regions, specifically the Dagbon enclave. I'm also aware that the level of vote buying that we witnessed that we witnessed in Mion, for instance, I can speak for, is unimaginable, something unprecedented. I mean, what we do know, parties do, and that's even a practice that we must work against. That when we are going for internal primaries, aspirants try to do some vote buying. These are limited number of delegates, and that's why the NDC was calling for the expansion of our electoral college. Now, at the main elections where you have over 40,000 registered voters, a party was bold enough to go around dishing out money to every
These allegations
voter.
you are making.
I'm telling you, it happened in Mion. Even on the voting day, when they were in the queues, under the disguise of giving them nose maxes, they gave them money.
Oh.
And so you can imagine if they can pump as much as some from their own sources. I mean, we talk to ourselves. You know, we have camps in every political party. They will tell you.
Do we have most also?
Yeah,
in there?
I mean, the kind of amount of money that they brought to the constituency in Mion, Kariga, and Gushegu, I fear for this democracy is now becoming a platform or an opportunity for the highest bidder. And so, you see, you have an internal crisis already. Now, your opponents comes to ambush you with huge sums of money on the night before the elections. And all that you can do is to put your hands on your head and just look up to God to see what happens. Other than that, ask anybody. I mean, ask anybody in Northern Region. Ask all the political observers. No one saw Mion sit leaving the NDC. We were in charge, and we never. In fact, the contact of my chairman, for instance, yes, I knew of it. I knew. And people had called for his suspension.
That he was dining with the devil.
Oh, yeah, I knew. I mean, I knew. And people had even called for his suspension before the elections. But I felt that wasn't too good because I didn't want us to rock the boat going into an elections. It was my thinking that we should cross the road and take the necessary action. But let's see what happens.
Okay, so let's come to the current parliament. But of course, 7 January, Babin becomes Speaker of Parliament. 137, 1. Then we hear also that there are some internal wranglings in the NDC. Your good friend Okuyeto Ablakwa has resigned from the committee, citing certain appointments committee for that matter. Yeah. What do you make of what is happening in the current parliament?
Oh, these are all part of group dynamics. I mean, it's all part of the group dynamics. They will settle, and they are settling. I wasn't too surprised that Right Honourable Speaker Bagbin was elected to be the Speaker of the 8th Parliament. Yeah. And he's the man that we need around this time, a very experienced lawmaker. He has seen it all under the Fourth Republic. Yeah. So at the time that we have a very balanced Parliament, we needed someone who has seen it all to be able to drive the House. And so I wasn't surprised that he got elected as the Speaker of Parliament. He has all it takes to lead the House. And I wasn't surprised. In fact, I even expected him to garner more votes than he did. But because of the polarized nature of our politicking and governance in this country, the mere fact that he was coming from the NDC stock would have made the NPP guys to shun him. But I'm sure one person or two other people had to exercise some conscience over mere partisan interest and went to vote for him. So he's a man that we need around this time. Our appointments committee, those are issues that I would not want to comment on publicly, especially on the action of an individual. Okay. But I think that could have been avoided.
All right. But more than 100 days into the new parliament, your successor, how is he doing?
That is rather an issue I'd want to leave to you. Go and engage him. You will know what he's made up of. I want to give him the space to operate. I had 4-year period to operate as a member of parliament. I would not want to be seen criticizing him too early in the day. In fact, I have had the calls to call people, some of the party boys who would make some commentary on social media. I've called them privately to say, bro, tone down, it's too early yet. Let's see how he will progress. And we would hold him and the MPP to account. But I've had calls to tell people to tone down on him, even in social media. But 4 months, go and if you engage, I'm sure you know what he's made of, and you can tell whether Mion has made a good substitute or a bad substitute, that would not be for me to say.
Okay. We know it's only God or Allah who knows what the future holds, but any plans to go back to the seat?
Oh no, for now, like I indicated earlier, my attention is on school and private business. My interest in Mion now, that I can hide, is that we would want to do everything humanly possible to reclaim that seat. With or without Aziz, we need the seat back. And so I have not actually given any serious thought to me going back to Parliament. It mustn't be a do or die affair. I mean, we still have some 2-3 years ahead of us. Let's see how things would pan out. We would watch the constituency, we would watch his performance, and all these things would inform our next decision.
Last question. Married, any kids?
Oh, yeah, I am married with 2 beautiful daughters. Namau, my wife, who has been very supportive, very patient, and tolerates me. We have 2 daughters, Ikram and Iman.
Okay. All right. Okay. So on that note, we would wrap up today's discussion. Very interesting. I've had with me the Honorable Abdul Aziz, Member of Parliament, former Member of Parliament for Mion in the Northern region. My name is Duke Mentopoku. Same time next week, we'll be right back on this channel. Keep watching City TV for the very best in programming.